Hey guys, how's it going? Eli here, back with another video where today we're going to be having a conversation about some new reprints that just recently came out, as well as the best time to buy some Lost Origin singles. Without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So, as always, getting out of the way, if you don't know, we're doing weekly giveaways. All you have to do to enter is be subscribed, leave a like, comment down below on any of the pre-recorded videos we post each and every week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Of course, you can comment and like on each video. That allows you to enter in multiple times. And then we're going to have 3 winners that are each going to be receiving 12 Lost Origin booster packs. So multiple opportunities to win and multiple opportunities to enter. So thank you guys once again for everything. And let's jump into today's topic. So a couple of items we just recently got announced we're going to get reprinted. Quite fascinating, but also it kind of lines up with some of the things that I had recently talked about, but in a very interesting way. And what do I mean by that, more or less? Obviously, we've been waiting for a ton of booster box reprints, but instead we've been getting a lot of elite trainer box reprints. So for those of you guys that have been, following reprints for the past year, we've gotten a Vivid Voltage reprint, a Darkness Ablaze reprint, we have gotten a Shining Fates reprint, we have gotten an Evolving Skies reprint, and now, and this is all ETBs, we are going to get a Fusion Strike ETB reprint and a Brilliant Star reprint. So people, of course, are going to ask, when's the best time to buy? What are your numbers? Yada, yada, yada. So as far as it goes right now, my overall numbers, because I'm talking from 2 distributors, one of my distributors so far has allocated me 30 Fusion Strike ETBs. I'm getting those for around $24 a piece is how much I'm getting them for. So versus my other distributor, they're having them on open order. So that has me to believe that we have a decent amount of them, and they're selling those for 25 bucks a piece. As for Brilliant Star, my second distributor that I mentioned, they have them on open order of 1 case limit per week. So whatever that means as to how much supply they have, it's going to be 27 a piece. And then if you were talking about my other distributor, I have yet to be allocated any ETBs for that. They're usually a little bit behind on the ball as far as the overall ETB allocation go. So, what is my overall expectation on general pricing for these items? Well, obviously, if we want to go take a look and just see Brilliant Stars first and foremost, what are the ETB prices currently? So if you're just wanting to go pick one up, they're already at MSRP pricing, so it's very interesting to see that we're going to be getting a reprint for it. And then, of course, if you want to go ahead and buy, a case's worth, then you're actually going to currently be getting it for below. Now, to be fair, it looks as if we've already started to see the prices. Since August, it looks like the prices have gone down. So this trend of the prices falling was something that had been going on for a while now. So the fact of the matter that it's going to go down even further is very intriguing. I almost wonder if you'll be able to pick them up for $33 a piece, $35 a piece. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. And if you can get it closer to that $33 price point, I think that's not going to be a bad play by any means for a Brilliant Star ETB, which, arguably is the second or third best set in the Sword and Shield era. So, I'm personally saying that that's not going to be a bad pickup. It's definitely my favorite of the 2, just because there's a lot to love in this set. Obviously with the Arceus and the Charizard and just so many other, of course, cool character rares and other items that you can pull in this set. So definitely a fan of picking up the ETBs. And of course, as I mentioned many times before, ETBs are more of a long-term play. And then as far as it goes for the Fusion Strike Elite Trainer boxes, obviously, they are, they've been kind of in the gutter, but you can start to see the reflection of the price reprints as they've recently started to hit the market. It hasn't been a heavy correction yet. it was kind of in a sideways market for a while, and now it's starting to really drop. It went from $40 to now $34.42 is the lowest. So what is that, a 15% drop? We could realistically see this price go down to the 30s if it continues this trend. So although I did say that Brilliant Star is my favorite of the 2 in terms of ETBs, Fusion Strike, it does have a Mew on the cover. It is an underrated set in my personal opinion, and if you can pick it up for below $30 we're at $30. That's a killer price point to be able to pick it up and, you know, have something like this set to be able to hold long term. I know, once again, as I've mentioned before, many times, I feel as if Fusion Strike is more or less a victim of its time, because when you look at what is in the set, I mean, Gengar, extremely popular character, Espeon is extremely popular character, Mew is an extremely popular character, Celebi is an extremely popular character, so it has a ton of extremely popular characters that are, of course, involved in talking about, you know, alternate arts that you could potentially pull in this set. And on top of that as well, you know, we can take a look and see how the uncommon list, if it's gone down. But yeah, Battle Pass is still one that you can pick up as a really good card. Quick Ball obviously still has some value. Adventure Discovery's gone down. This card used to be over $1, but I think it was in the new Trainer Toolkit, which is why. So, I mean, the pack value of what this set is, as far as it goes with a competitive play perspective, and what I think could be collectively valuable because going back to it, this set came out right before Brilliant Star, right after Celebrations and Evolving Skies. So I think there was not a lot of hype for this set, and it was a set that a lot of people were passing up on because there were so many good sets that were kind of placed around it, because Pokemon said banger, 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 and they kind of really crushed it during last year's kind of going from fall into winter period. But yeah, so $30 is what I'm going to say for the main price point for the Fusion Strike, and then if you can get Brilliant for $33, those are going to kind of be my two. Anything below that, you're looking at an amazing opportunity. And of course, once again, I'm looking at this from a long-term play perspective. Please listen to my words. This is a long-term play perspective. This is not one where you're like, oh, Eli, I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to sell this in a month and I'm going to make a ton of money. And that's not what we're doing here. We're looking at this from a long-term play, because when you talk about it, obviously when it first came out over the year, and look at where the price has been since the start of December, and look at where it's been. It went up, sure, it went up 25%. If you had bought it in at $31.70, you probably could have picked it up for cheaper around that time, and then you're saying you sold it at $40. Well, after fees, after shipping, you're not making money unless you're doing local trades, and at that point, you know, with the recent reprint, then that's just going to lead to more volatility with this specific item and a lot more uncertainty for how long it's going to take for this item to, of course, go back up in value. So really just want to be patient with these items, and we're hoping, of course, for booster boxes are going to get reprints. I feel like I've just been kind of beating that dead horse on that, but right now ETBs are getting reprinted, and that's still something that I think is good for the market overall. Interesting as well, because these ETBs, like I had said before, they were at MSRP. That it's not like they were below MSR or above MSRP by quite a bit, and it's not like you know, they were starting an uptrend, really. I mean, I guess you could make an argument Fusion was, but Brilliant wasn't. Brilliant's been going down, so quite bizarre that these are the two things we're seeing. But you know how the Pokemon company is. When they do ETB reprints, they print all their ETBs at once. When they do booster box reprints, they print all the booster boxes at once. So this doesn't exactly surprise me as to the direction in which they went for the overall reprints on this. But the next topic, and this is going to be a little bit shorter video, but the next topic and discussion I want to have is, I've had a lot of people ask me questions since Lost Origin is out, since we know what the overall pull rates are going to be for the set. When's the best time to start buying these singles? You know, because a lot of people are just saying, hey, I'm just going to skip it because, you know, we talked about this on our live stream today if you were a part of it, but we actually went over the overall pull rates for what we've seen so far for the set. And as you guys are probably aware, they are not pretty pull rates. So if we want to take a look at it right now, the overall pull rate odds, if you can hopefully read this, it is a Giratina is a 1 in 720, Aerodactyl 1 in 665, Rotom 1 in 864, and Berserker 1 in 1080. So for our live stream that we hosted, we had one alternate art pulled out of 2 cases, and it was a Berserker. So interestingly enough, that we pulled the Berserker, and that was supposed to be the hardest one to pull. Apparently the exact same thing happened to Pokerev, so he also got Berserker the most. So kind of weird it's the hardest one to pull, but this is of course from, it's 8,000. Lost Origins is the sample size. This is coming from Infinite TCG Player. They like to do this to add some singles for themselves. And then next, obviously on the list, we've got the Gold Giratina, 1 in 720. We actually pulled 2 of those in 2 cases, so that's pretty good. And also as well, so we didn't pull the Rainbow, which is 1 in 2,134. But we did pull the rest of the Pikachus. So we pulled both of the Character Rare VMAX, both the gold and the like alternate art version, and then we pulled the regular, and that was 1 in 665, 1 in 508, and then 1 in 234, and we pulled the 1 in 234 one twice. So it's very interesting to see their luck that they got on their 8,000 card sample, because it seems as if we got much better luck than they did. So we were pulling a rainbow almost every booster box, and they're saying for themselves it was 1 in 70 for them, and we were pulling a gold every other. We would have boxes that would either have just a rainbow or a rainbow and a gold, or just a gold. That was kind of what our odds were for every booster box we opened. So we pulled every single gold card, if I'm correct. I think there was maybe one we might have missed out on, but we almost pulled every single rainbow V-Star card. So and we had a decent amount of full art. So kind of interesting. I would have expected these rates to be better based on my own personal experience, but hey man, this is over 8,000 cards. We're talking 420 for ours. So this is 420, yeah. So dumb. So it's quite interesting that that's the sample that they kind of got for it. But with all that being said, of course, question now remains, what is going to be the best time to kind of buy these cards? And one of the things that I talked about, shout out to Nostalgianomics for this when he was on our stream last time, I said, hey man, I know that a lot of people were saying with the Machamp that there was a ton of I know, and he was a firm believer of this, that the value that the Machamp gained was truly because of the artwork. And I had said, I don't know if I necessarily believe that. I think that's possible, but I'd much rather go to the direction of saying, I believe this is more of a market manipulation type thing, right? That was kind of what my personal opinion was at the time. We, of course, then got into the final discussion where I said, here's what my opinion is. I love the artwork for the Aerodactyl. If the Aerodactyl is a card that absolutely explodes opening week, then I will concede and say that I think it is if it is an artwork. But if not, and every other one of the cards starts to kind of pop off like Berserker and other ones such, then in my opinion, it is all market manipulation. So if we want to just kind of take a look, you actually saw an increase in value with the Giratina. In regards to the overall value of the Berserker card, you have seen the price of it continue to go down. It looks like it had a little bit of a bounce back, but for the most part it's been going down. If we take a look at the Rotom, where is the Rotom? Best selling, interesting. If we take a look at the Rotom card, we can see that the value of this card has also as well been going down. It looks like it went down, kind of went up, and is kind of an indecision point. Will be interesting to see if the price of this is going to go up. And then if you take a look at the Aerodactyl, the last but not least, this has been nothing but a straight arrow up. It has gained over 100% in value, if I'm correct, if we're looking at it right now, because most recent sales, $175, $80 was the cheapest price point. So yeah, absolute insane value. So we know for a fact that the Aerodactyl artwork is definitely the one that's kind of leading the way. But it's very interesting to see too, because if you look at everything outside of the Aerodactyl, it had a drop point and then it had a rebound price. As you can see with that drop point, it was around the time of September the 9th, right? And we are currently on the 13th. If we can go back and see how far we can look at the sales history and see how realistic this actually was when looking at the overall price point of it, we can see that on the 9th, there was a decent amount of sales volume that was all in that kind of 190-ish range, couple of 180-ish ranges, which is of course represented on the chart itself. And then it just kind of went up from there. Recently from 240, we're seeing that the price is now 220, so who knows if it's going sideways, but I have to imagine, is there a level of indecision in the market right now? Because at first there was an expectation that the prices, because it's an opening release set, are going to continue to drop because more packs are being opened. Or now that, of course, we're having the knowledge of such scarcity because the pull rates are so bad, we're going to see the prices actually start to skyrocket up because the pulls are so hard to get. that there's not going to be as much floating around in circulation. Obviously, as it looks like right now, there is still, with both the Giratina and the Aerodactyl, the volume on it is still, we got about 3 pages. The sales volume is still relatively decent in terms of it. Same thing goes with the Rotom, and I'm going to assume the same thing with the Berserker. So it's not as if, the Berserker is actually dead in volume. And let's actually look at the recent sales and volume. I want to talk about a buyout conversation. Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. This is quite interesting to me when you want to talk about market manipulation. So look at the price of this item, 25 all the way through. Then it broke 30 on the 12th, 30, 30, 30. And then look at all these sales that have happened from the 12th to the 13th. And look at what the price is now. It's only 1 page left. And that 1 page goes all the way up. I mean, you've got 3 that are selling for $45, and then you've got a $60 and a $70. I mean, there's literally no volume on this. And it's funny because we actually were looking at this on our live stream earlier today, and this was about a 1 or 2 page going for $30. So the price of this has actually gone up $15 within today. So there is actually some very interesting manipulation going on. And I wonder, once again, going back to it, if there are people trying to make buyouts for this item, knowing how scarce it is, and saying to themselves, hey, this item for an alternate art is priced pretty cheap as it stands right now. Let's just buy it up and try and take advantage of the fact that there's not a lot of it being pulled based on its overall odds. And let's try and see if we can gain some value off it. I think that, personally speaking, there is a high possibility that something like that could be happening right now. So very interesting action, to say the least, in regards to the overall, is it market manipulation? Is it prints? Because although, of course, the Aerodactyl is in a zone of its own, I think the other 3 are really in a weird kind of area of, it clearly looks like the Galarian Berserker is dealing with some buyouts, and then the Rotom and the Giratina are definitely in an indecision point because of the recent news of the overall pull rate. So, now that we've had this, of course, discussion, and I've taken 10 minutes just to explain to you all of my thought process behind behind what, of course, is going on with Lost Origins, the question has to be asked. When is the overall best time? And I know people are going to absolutely hate my answer on this one, but I'm going to have to say that I still think that, there's an area of risk that you have to account for at this current point in time, and it's really going to be on you to decide this for yourself. I think for the Aerodactyl, you might hate me for saying this, I think you've realistically missed the boat if you're trying to get in for a good price, just because it's gone up 100% in the past couple of days. If you want to buy near the top and hope that it goes up another 70 to $100, then you totally can, and see if it becomes the, of course, most valuable of the overall alternate artworks if you want to take that risk. Obviously, with the other ones, they're outside of the Galarian Berserker, which just got absolutely eaten up. I don't think now's the best time to pick that up, considering the sales volume on it is so low, and the orders are going to have to be added and kind of drop the price pretty soon here on that one. So I don't think that's a good pickup. Then as for the Giratina and Rotom, obviously, once again, they're at an indecision point where, they dropped and then they went up, and they're like, are we going to be affected by the prints or not? So it's really a toss-up. I've always been a huge fan of being patient, playing the waiting game, and that's usually worked out for me. Of course, everyone likes to look at Evolving Skies and then immediately say, well, Evolving Skies, obviously, if you played the waiting game, it didn't work out for you. But if you look at just about every other set, in terms of overall playing the waiting game, your opportunity to be able to pick up cards from a long-term perspective on the cheap has been something that has always been rewarded by patience. You take a look at any of the sets in the pre-alternate art era, of course, Shining Fates, Battle Styles, Vivid Voltage, Champions Pack, Darkness Ablaze, all these are perfect examples of that. Evolving Skies, Outlier of its own, Celebrations as well, Fusion Strike. I mean, we can take a look at Brilliant Stars and see if that's something that is of interest, if that is a reward that people might have had by waiting. We can take a look and see maybe it's an outlier because, of course, this is an alternate art Charizard. I don't know if that's going to be true, but as we can see, 209 was the overall high. We had a small amount print come out. 165, if you had went and bought it when it first came out at around the time, of course, back at the end of February, price of course went up. It kept going up, then it went down, then it went up, and if you had just been patient and waited up until now, you're able to pick it up at the cheapest price, of course, you would have been able to in the history of the card coming out. You take a look at the Charizard V-Star, and you just say to yourself, all right, well, what do we think about the TCG value on this card? Oh, what do you know? 194 for when the set first came out. Now it's sitting at 93, so it's dropped over 50% in value. And then, of course, the Arceus is the last one we're going to take a look at, just to kind of prove my point in terms of overall value. Is it the best time to pick up or later? 75, 78, what do you know? $40, it's almost dropped 50% value as well. So, I think it's safe to say that if you just look historically speaking on all the sets prior, being patient has always been the play. I know Astral, of course, you can point to the Machamp as another example because it has initial climb, and that was something that was quite interesting because of the artworks. But if you take into consideration after its climb, would you have wanted to buy in at that point at its high peak, right? And now you can make the argument and say, well, the Aerodactyl, what if the Aerodactyl's right here on the chart and it's going to go up to here and you're pricing it differently? I highly doubt that. I mean, the Aerodactyl's already at 170, 180. I don't think it's going to break above the Giratina. That just seems crazy to me. But, well, let's say it's at its peak right now. If you had played the waiting game, you obviously, at its point in time right now, are able to pick it up for around $25, $30 cheaper. So, patience, I think, is something that you're always going to be rewarded on. And I think that there, of course, is always going to be outliers on that. I think that Aerodactyl is going to be one of the outliers in regards to the value initially, and then Evolving Skies has just been so high demand. But just literally everything else we've kind of looked at, patience has realistically been a virtue for all of this. So, and if you want to take a look at the most recent sets, such as, Brilliant Star came out end of February, and the Charizard has dropped 50% of overall value, I think there's an argument to be made that, hey man, it came out end of February, we're going into September, realistically you waited, about 6 months to get to that point? I think if you really want to have a conversation about when the best time to pick up Lost Origin packs is, I know people hate that I'm going to say this, but I think, 3 to 6 months we can kind of reassess the situation on that, because, I think that even with the fact that there's a level of scarcity with these overall alt arts being pulled, I think there's no reason to kind of jump the gun, because the market is doing what the market does best. It's being very emotional off of the opening week, and I just don't want you guys to, of course, feel caught in that. Now, of course, it's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. If you would like to take the approach of saying to yourself that, hey, the market's at an indecision point, I think that with the current news of scarcity in the overall pull rates, I'm going to then take the approach of buying in now in the hopes that the prices of the alt arts are going to go up. You can totally take that risk. It's up to you. But I just would think that's kind of crazy that something like that would happen within the first week of the set going out, because even Evolving Skies, a set that is as great as it is, it still had its down points after its reprints, after its initial releases, after its pre-releases, and the overall value that it, of course, had. We go back and look at what the set was before. It did have its drop to 173. Of course, that came with a reprint down the line from it. But after that, 09, it took a while before it realistically started to see any sort of price action going up. And I shouldn't say reprint, I should say its next wave. So it was one that, it came out wave 1, second wave came out, 173 was the price point at which it hit its bottom. So it took time for it to kind of play out. And then, after about, it came out end of August. So we're saying it took about 3-4 months for it to, hit its bottom point and continue to climb up. You take it, a lot of these other sets, they're at their 6-month point, and they still, of course, have not found their bottom. So unless you're saying to yourself that, hey, after 3 months, this is going to be an Evolving Skies and it's just going to go up in value and up, 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 and up, I think it's safe to say that, jumping the gun on a set like Lost Origins is going to be one that I don't think will be beneficial regardless of the pull rate odds. I could be 100% wrong. I could 100% be off. People will say, Eli, well, this is different because of pull rates, and you could be 100% right. But even if you are 100% right, are you really going to want to go and buy a Galarian Berserker at $45 that was literally just, $20 not that long ago? Are you really going to want to buy an Aerodactyl that just went up 100% about 2 days ago? Like, are you going to want to buy these at presumable tops potentially after they just skyrocketed more than 100% in value? If you want to, you can, but I know for myself, I'd much rather wait and just kind of see what the future holds with that. And if I know anything about the Pokemon company, they tend to be very aware of a lot of the pricing on cards, and they like to try and balance that out. Obviously, Evolving Skies, once again, because we're always going to compare it to Evolving Skies, it has not done well so far. We're hoping that's going to change with a booster box reprint in the near future. But if you take everything outside of Evolving Skies, they've done a pretty darn good job with that in terms of keeping price control under control in terms of singles. So just be patient, 3 to 6 months. That's kind of what my perspective is on this. And honestly, there's going to be, I feel like, a lot of opportunities for deals if you do want to pick this up sometime on Black Friday. Of course, TCG Player is going to be having their deals for their bonus bucks, whether you're a member or not a member, and you can always just pay the $7 and cancel the membership and then just take advantage of the 10% that they're probably going to give, or 15, or however much percentage back they're going to give you for being a member for the day. And then, of course, being able to get yourself more value if you were to go back and kind of buy it all up during that one day. And wrapping up the rest of the video, main points, of course, were Fusion Strike ETBs were getting a reprint, Brilliant Star ETBs were getting a reprint, and when's the best time to buy Lost Origin singles? Personally speaking, I'm going to wait off another 3 to 6 months and play the game of, being patient and waiting for the opportunities to present themselves. If you want to take in, of course, indulge in the risk that could potentially happen with that by jumping the gun now or within the next week, that's you. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor. But that is just the approach that I'm going to be taking. It's wait and see. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to enter into our weekly giveaways, make sure you leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We post pre-recorded content Monday, Wednesday, Friday for you to like and comment on, which allows you to enter in for multiple entries. Of course, since we have 3 winners, that's multiple opportunities to win and multiple opportunities to enter. So thank you guys all so much for watching. Until then, I will see you all on Friday. Peace.